My phone buzzed on the table on a Tuesday afternoon while sitting in my small apartment, sunlight streaming through the window I'd chosen myself, drinking coffee from a mug I'd bought with my own money. It sounds simple, but after everything, simple felt like luxury. It was a number I deleted but still recognized instantly. My ex-mother-in-law. 3 months had passed since the divorce was finalized. 3 months of silence. 3 months of rebuilding a life they'd spent years dismantling. I answered, "It's about your husband," she said, not even a greeting. No acknowledgement that he wasn't my husband anymore. "He's in the hospital. Serious complications. We need money immediately. The surgery deposit is $50,000. You need to come now." I sat there, coffee cooling in my hands, and felt something strange. Not panic, not sympathy, just a quiet, crystalline clarity. "Why are you calling me?" I asked. "Because you're still his wife," she snapped, as if the divorce decree hadn't existed, as if the past 3 months were just a tantrum she could ignore. "Because this is what family does. Because you have money now and we need it." The audacity took my breath away, not because it surprised me, but because it reminded me exactly who these people had always been, and who I'd finally stopped being. Before we go any further, if you're interested in true crime stories, survival stories, or you just want to support Black women telling their truth, please hit that like button and subscribe. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Let's go back to the beginning. When I married Daniel 7 years ago, I thought I was joining a close-knit family. His mother spoke constantly about family values and staying together. At the wedding, she held my hands and told me I was the daughter she'd always wanted. I believed her. I was 24, eager to belong, and naive enough to mistake control for care. The changes started small. Daniel worked in his family's mid-sized construction supply business. I was a junior accountant at a regional firm, earning $42,000 a year, not wealthy but stable. Within 2 months of marriage, Daniel suggested I hand over my salary to our joint account. His mother praised this as proper financial management and what real wives do. I agreed. I wanted to be a good wife. The joint account wasn't joint. I had no access to it. Instead, Daniel gave me a daily allowance of $15 for personal expenses. $15. For lunch, for coffee, for anything I might need during the day. If I needed more, I had to ask him. Each time, I had to explain what it was for, why I needed it, whether it was truly necessary. "We're saving for the future," he'd say, kissing my forehead like I was a child who didn't understand finances. Meanwhile, he bought new golf clubs, upgraded his truck, went out drinking with friends twice a week. His mother reinforced every decision. "A good wife doesn't question her husband's judgment," she told me over Sunday dinner, when I gently asked if I could have access to see our savings balance. "Your generation is so obsessed with independence. In my day, we understood partnership meant trust." Trust. That word became a cage. I started packing my own lunch, sandwiches made from the groceries his mother approved during our weekly shopping trips, which she insisted on joining. She'd remove items from my cart, saying they were too expensive or unnecessary. Once I put a small potted plant in the cart, something to brighten our apartment. She took it out, saying, "Plants die anyway. Why waste money?" I told myself this was temporary, that once we bought a house, once we had children, things would balance out. I told myself his family's closeness was a blessing, not a burden. I told myself I was building something. I was wrong. By the second year, my entire salary went directly to Daniel's account through automatic deposit. He changed the settings without asking me. When I discovered it, he said his mother suggested it to simplify things. I had no savings of my own, no emergency fund, nothing in my name. The daily allowance dropped to $10 because we were saving more aggressively. I stopped buying coffee. I stopped meeting friends for lunch. When my sister's birthday came around, I had to beg Daniel for $50 to buy her a gift. He gave me $30 and told me to be creative. I was working 45 hours a week and living like I was unemployed. His mother visited 3 times a week, unannounced. She'd inspect the apartment, critique my cooking, rearrange my kitchen cabinets. "This isn't how we do things," she'd say, moving my spices to different shelves. Once, she threw away a dress I'd bought before the marriage, saying it was too revealing, even though it had a modest neckline and fell below my knees. You're part of our family now, she reminded me constantly. That means our standards. I started working overtime, thinking maybe if I earned more, contributed more, I'd gain some respect. My salary increased to $48,000. I never saw the difference. Daniel bought a boat. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the grocery receipts. Daniel started demanding I submit receipts for every purchase, even the groceries I bought with my allowance. He'd review them, questioning why I bought name-brand butter instead of generic, why I needed body lotion when soap works fine. His mother joined these reviews, sitting at their dining table with reading glasses, circling items with red pen like a teacher grading a failed exam. Wasteful, she'd murmur. Undisciplined. I began to feel crazy. I was earning a respectable salary, contributing everything, and being interrogated over $3 purchases. In year 4, I got promoted. My salary jumped to $53,000. I thought maybe I could negotiate for some financial autonomy. I suggested opening a small savings account in my name, just for emergencies. Daniel's face darkened. Why would you need secret money? Planning to leave. His mother was there within an hour. He called her immediately. She sat me down and explained, very calmly, that asking for separate finances was a betrayal, that it showed a lack of commitment, that if I truly loved Daniel, I'd trust his leadership. Do you want to destroy this marriage over money? She asked. I backed down. I always back down. Then came the credit cards. I discovered Daniel had opened 3 cards in my name. I only found out when collection notices arrived at my parents' house, the address still listed on my old accounts. He'd maxed them out. $23,000 of debt I didn't know existed. When I confronted him, he was casual. We needed money for the business expansion. You're my wife. Your credit is family credit. But I didn't agree. You agreed when you married me, he said, as if vows included identity theft. His mother called me selfish for making it an issue. The business supports all of us. You benefit from it, don't you? You live in a nice apartment, wear nice clothes. The clothes she'd approved. The apartment I couldn't leave without permission. What shattered me wasn't the betrayal, it was the planning. The premeditation. They'd structured everything so carefully. My money flowed in, nothing flowed out except through their hands. I couldn't leave without ruining my credit further. I couldn't save. I couldn't breathe. Year 5 brought a new horror. I came home early from work one Tuesday. I'd left my laptop and needed it for an afternoon meeting. Daniel's car was in the parking lot, along with a car I didn't recognize. I walked into our bedroom and found him with someone else. Not a stranger. His college girlfriend, a woman his mother had mentioned with warm nostalgia many times. They didn't even scramble. Daniel just looked annoyed at the interruption. The woman, Jessica, smiled apologetically, like I'd walked in on a business meeting. We'll talk later, Daniel said, as if I were the one being unreasonable by existing in my own home. I stood there, frozen, and then left. Drove around for 3 hours. When I returned, Jessica was gone. Daniel sat me down with what I can only describe as practiced patience. This doesn't change anything, he said. I still want our marriage. But Jessica understands me in ways you don't. Mother thinks it's reasonable for a man to have certain outlets, as long as he maintains his commitment to family. Mother thinks. Those words again. He wasn't apologizing. He was explaining why I should accept it. I called his mother naive, desperate part of me thinking she'd be appalled. That she'd defend me, her daughter. Men have needs, she said calmly, especially men under pressure. If you were more attentive, more understanding of his stress, this wouldn't have happened. Don't make this bigger than it is. I realized then, she'd known. Probably arranged it. Jessica had been at family dinners. I'd served her coffee in my home. But I still didn't leave. Where would I go? My credit was destroyed. My savings were zero. My family lived 4 hours away, and I'd become too ashamed to tell them what my life had become. I had $10 in my purse and no access to my own earnings. That's when they made their final move. Daniel's parents owned the apartment we lived in. I'd never known. I thought we were renting from a management company. In year 6, they decided to gift it to Daniel as an early inheritance. Papers appeared for me to sign, quitclaim documents releasing any marital interest in the property. It's a tax thing, Daniel explained. Doesn't affect you. I'd learned enough by then to read the documents carefully. Signing meant that in a divorce, I'd have no claim to our home. I'd have nothing. I refused to sign. His mother arrived that evening. "You're being hysterical," she said. "After everything we've done for you, given you a home, a family security, this is how you repay us. With suspicion and greed." "I'm not signing away my rights," I said quietly. "Then you're signing away your marriage," Daniel said. The choice was clear: sign or face manufactured consequences. They would make my life unbearable. His mother would escalate her visits, her criticisms. Daniel would withhold even the small allowance I survived on. They would isolate me further, making me choose between homelessness and compliance. I signed. What else could I do? But something changed in me that night. Not immediately. Not with dramatic realization. Just a small, cold seed of clarity taking root. I stopped arguing. I smiled more. I thanked his mother for her guidance. I apologized for being difficult, and I started documenting everything. Every credit card statement I could access, every text message about money, every email from his mother about managing me. I created a secret email account from a library computer and forwarded everything there. I photographed receipts. I recorded conversations where they discussed finances, using my phone tucked in my purse. I wasn't planning revenge. I was planning survival. At work, I excelled. I took on extra projects. I networked. I made myself indispensable. When a senior accountant position opened at a partner firm across town, I applied secretly, interviewed during lunch breaks, and accepted the offer. $68,000. A 30% increase. I didn't tell them. Instead, I approached my current employer's HR and explained I discovered my direct deposits were going to an account I didn't control. They looked horrified. Within one meeting, they helped me set up a new bank account, one Daniel knew nothing about, and redirected my deposits. The money from my new job began accumulating. Daniel never noticed because I kept working my old hours, leaving home at the same time. The extra salary piled up in an account he didn't know existed. For 6 months, I was two people. The obedient, controlled wife at home, and someone else, someone competent and clear-headed, outside those walls. I consulted a lawyer. Not a loud confrontation, just quiet questions. What were my rights? How could I protect myself? What evidence mattered? She told me everything I needed to know. The credit card fraud, the financial abuse, the coerced signing under duress. I had a case, she said. A strong one. "But I need you to be sure," she said. "Because once you start this, there's no going back." I was sure. The pain hadn't made me angry, it had made me clear. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom. I wanted to stop being erased. In month 7 of my secret planning, Daniel came home with papers. Divorce papers. He wanted out. The irony was stunning. After 7 years of control, of grinding me down, of structured entrapment, he wanted to leave. "Jessica's pregnant," he said. "We're going to marry. Mother thinks it's best if we do this quickly and quietly." He slid the papers across the table. "I've been fair," he said. "You get nothing because you contributed nothing. The apartment is mine. Your debt is yours. Signed by Friday." I read the settlement. It was worse than nothing. He wanted me to assume full responsibility for the credit cards he'd opened in my name, waive all claims to any assets, and agree to a confidentiality clause preventing me from discussing our marriage publicly. "This is insane," I said. "This is reality," his mother said, appearing in the doorway. She'd let herself in, as always. "You should be grateful we're not pursuing legal action for financial irresponsibility. Those credit cards are in your name." I didn't open them. "Prove it," she smiled. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd structured everything perfectly. The trapped, broke wife with destroyed credit, and no resources would sign anything to escape. They didn't know about the new job, the new account, the lawyer, the documentation. "I need time to think," I said. "You have until Friday," Daniel repeated. I left that night, not dramatically, just quietly packed one suitcase while they watched television and drove to a hotel. Daniel called twice, annoyed I was making things difficult. His mother left a voicemail saying I was proving their point about my instability. Friday, I didn't sign their papers. I filed my own. Divorce petition with counterclaims. Fraud. Financial abuse. identity theft. I included bank statements showing my salary, credit card applications with Daniel's handwriting, text messages from his mother discussing how to handle me financially. The lawsuit for the credit card fraud went to the authorities. I had copies of everything: applications in my name with his signatures, security footage from banks I'd subpoenaed showing him at the counter. His mother called me 17 times that day. Then came the threats. I'd regret this. They'd destroy me. They had resources I couldn't imagine. But I had something they'd never expected: documentation and a lawyer who specialized in financial abuse cases. The divorce took 4 months. The court was not kind to them. Daniel's attempt to keep the apartment failed. Since it had been our marital residence and the quitclaim was signed under duress, it got divided. His parents' gift became marital property. The credit card debt was reassigned to Daniel, with penalties. I walked away with my share of assets, my credit and recovery, and something more valuable. The court acknowledged what happened. Not in a Hollywood way, just in dry legal language that said I'd been wronged, systematically, and was entitled to remediation. That night, lying in my small rented apartment, the one I'd chosen, the one with my name alone on the lease, I stopped being their daughter-in-law and started becoming myself. The first month alone, I cried more than I'd cried in 7 years. Not from sadness, from release. Every decision was mine. What to eat, when to sleep, whether to leave dishes in the sink overnight. I bought a plant, a fern. It cost $8. I didn't have to ask permission or justify it. I cried in the nursery aisle holding that fern. Work became my anchor. The new firm valued my skills. I was promoted within 8 months to senior analyst. My salary increased to $74,000. All of it mine. All of it in accounts only I could access. I started therapy. Real therapy, not the marriage counseling his mother had insisted on with a pastor from her church who'd spent sessions explaining why submission was holy. My therapist helped me understand what had happened wasn't normal difficulty. It was systematic financial and emotional abuse. Hearing those words in a clinical setting mattered. Abuse. Not my failure. Not my weakness. Abuse. I rebuilt my credit slowly. Paid down the remaining balances aggressively. Disputed fraudulent claims. Within 18 months, my score climbed from 520 to 680. I reconnected with friends I'd lost, apologizing for vanishing. They welcomed me back with zero judgment, only relief. We were worried, they said, but we didn't know how to reach you. I didn't date, didn't even think about it. I was learning who I was outside of someone else's definition. I took a pottery class. I traveled to Seattle for a weekend by myself. I said no to things I didn't want to do, and yes to things that scared me. Freedom felt like learning to walk after years in a cast. Through mutual connections, I heard updates. Daniel married Jessica. She was already struggling with his mother's involvement. His business faced investigations for financial irregularities. Turned out, his management style extended beyond his personal life. His mother's interference in the marriage was already legendary among Jessica's friends. I felt no satisfaction in their struggles. Just a distant, mild gratitude that it was no longer my problem. 3 months post-divorce, that Tuesday afternoon, that phone call. After I asked why she was calling me, there was a pause. Then his mother's voice shifted, less commanding, more urgent. The hospital needs $50,000 before they'll proceed with the surgery. Daniel had complications from appendicitis. It became septic. He needs immediate intervention, and our insurance has a coverage gap. We've liquidated what we can, but we're short. And you're calling me because? Because you have money now, she said, the words almost accusatory. We know about your job, your salary. You're doing well. The surveillance shouldn't have surprised me. Of course they kept tabs. Where's Jessica? I asked. Silence. Then, she left. 2 months ago. The stress was too much for her, especially being pregnant. She's with her parents in Oregon. So Daniel was alone, and his mother was desperate. You need to understand, she continued, voice hardening again, finding familiar ground, that regardless of what happened between you two, this is a medical emergency. This is about human decency, about being a good person. There it was, the same manipulation wrapped in different words. Be a good person. Do the right thing. Put aside your selfishness. The hospital is Mercy General, 4th floor ICU, she continued, assuming my compliance. They need a check or wire transfer by 6 p.m. I can meet you there in an hour. I looked around my apartment, at the fern on the windowsill, thriving, at the coffee mug I'd chosen, at the books stacked on the table I'd bought myself. I'll think about it, I said. There's no time to think. Her voice rose, panic cracking through. He could die. Do you want that on your conscience? After everything we did for you. Everything you did to me, I corrected quietly. We gave you a family, a home. We treated you like a daughter. You treated me like property, I said. But I'll think about it. I'll let you know. I hung up. For an hour I sat with it. The old instinct to comply pulled at me. He was sick. That was real. Suffering was suffering, regardless of who was experiencing it. But I thought about the credit cards, the daily allowances, the signed documents under coercion, the woman I'd become in that marriage, small, silent, erased. I drove to the hospital anyway, not to give money, to see. The ICU was sterile and cold, smelling of antiseptic and fear. I found his mother in the waiting area, pacing. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. When she saw me, relief flooded her face. You came. I knew you would. You're a good person. I came to talk, I said. Her face fell. There's nothing to talk about. He needs surgery. We need money. Every minute we waste. Where's the money from my credit cards? I asked. She blinked. What? The $23,000 Daniel charged in my name. Where did it go? That was years ago. Where did it go? I repeated calmly. The business. Investments. It's gone. This is a separate issue. Where's the money from my salary? 7 years of earnings. Where is it? Her face hardened. This is what you're thinking about. Right now. Your ex-husband is dying, and you want to litigate the past. I want to understand, I said. Why you think I owe you anything? Because he's a human being, she nearly shouted. Several people in the waiting room turned. She lowered her voice. Because despite what you think, we cared about you. We took you in. You took me over, I said. You erased me. Systematically. For 7 years. We taught you discipline. Structure. You were a mess when Daniel met you. I was 24 and normal, I said. You made me believe I was broken, so I'd accept being controlled. Her eyes narrowed. If you're here to punish us, I'm here to be clear, I said, about why I'm not helping. His mother stared at me. Behind her, through the ICU window, I could see machines in movement. Real people in real crisis. I felt the weight of it. I can afford the money, I said quietly. I've saved aggressively. I'm financially stable now. Hope flickered in her eyes. But I can't afford what it would cost me to say yes. The hope died. If I give you money now, I continued, I'm saying that what happened was okay. That 7 years of abuse can be erased by one emergency. That you get to take and take and take, and then when you need something, I'm supposed to forget everything and give more. This isn't about us, she said desperately. This is about him. He was your husband. You took vows. Vows he broke. Vows you helped him break. So you'll let him die? That's your revenge. I'm not letting him die, I said. The hospital will treat him. They have payment plans, financial assistance programs. You have assets, the business, properties. You'll figure it out. You just won't figure it out using my money. You're heartless, she spat. I'm boundaried, I corrected. There's a difference. She started to cry, real tears or performed, I couldn't tell. Maybe both. I don't understand how you can be this cruel. I thought I knew you. You never knew me, I said. You knew the person you trained me to be. Obedient. Grateful. Guilty. That person doesn't exist anymore. Because you're selfish now. Because you've decided your hurt matters more than human life. Because I've decided my dignity matters, I said firmly. Because I learned that people who love you don't destroy you. They don't steal from you, lie to you, reshape you. And they definitely don't call you 3 months after a divorce demanding money while calling it family. She opened her mouth, closed it. Tried again. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever you think we did wrong. Now will you help? I don't want an apology, I said. I don't want anything from you. That's the point. I turned to leave. She grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Please, she whispered, and this time it was definitely real. He's my son. Whatever else happened, he's my son. I gently removed her hand. I know. And that's your emergency, not mine. I hope he recovers. Genuinely. But I can't fix this for you. Can't or won't? Both, I said. I walked out of that hospital with my purse still full, my bank account untouched, and my conscience clear. Daniel survived. I learned this weeks later through mutual connections. The hospital worked out a payment plan. His parents sold some assets. Jessica came back, though I heard the marriage remained turbulent. Life continued for them as it does. For me, that phone call became a turning point I didn't expect. Not because of what happened at the hospital, but because of what didn't happen inside me. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't even feel angry anymore. I felt free. For years, I thought freedom meant escaping. Getting out. Being away from them. But real freedom, I learned, was the ability to say no without guilt. To hold boundaries without explaining them. To refuse to be manipulated by emergency or obligation or the weaponization of decency. They taught me that good people always help, always give, always sacrifice. That's how they'd kept me contained. But what I finally understood was that good people also protect themselves. They recognize that not every crisis is theirs to solve. That love doesn't mean erasure. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd given them the money. They would have taken it without thanks, just as they'd taken everything else, and nothing would have changed. The pattern would have re-established itself. I'd be back in their orbit, proving my worth through service, available for the next emergency. Instead, I kept building my life. I got another promotion. I bought a small condo. I adopted a cat. I started dating someone who finds my independence attractive, not threatening. Small things. Normal things. Things that feel extraordinary because of where I came from. My ex-mother-in-law never called again. Neither did Daniel. I imagine they tell a story about me. How cold I was. How cruel. How I abandoned them in crisis. I used to worry about that story, about being misunderstood. Now I know. People who need to control you will always paint your freedom as betrayal. That's not my burden to carry. Karma isn't always dramatic. It's not always instant. Sometimes it's just the quiet accumulation of choices. They chose control, manipulation, exploitation. And eventually, those choices left them isolated when they needed help most. I chose dignity, boundaries, and self-respect. And those choices built a life worth protecting. I didn't win because they lost. I won because I finally understood that some doors, once you walk through them to freedom, should never be opened again. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, but out of simple, clear self-preservation. The phone call that day wasn't a test I passed or failed. It was a confirmation that I'd already become someone different. Someone who could hear, bring the money, and feel nothing but the solid weight of my own worth. That's not cruelty. That's survival. That's the long, slow work of becoming whole. And I'd rather be whole and alone than broken and claimed. Kindly hit the subscribe button to stay informed about our next video.